Welcome back to another episode of the Cody Tucker Show. I am he that is Cody Tucker. Today I am joined by a very special guest, one of the most badass human beings of all time. You may remember him from Jackass, Wildboyz, America's Got Talent, a plethora of television programs. Mr. David Weathers. How's it going, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good. How you been?
I am great. It is hot as shit in Texas, so...
It's hot as shit in Florida, and we got that humidity to add to it. So I think we got you beat by a little bit there.
Dude, it is rough. Like, every time I go outside, it feels like my tits turn into like a pair of thawed out chicken breasts. It is.
Yeah, as soon as I step outside, I feel like I'm peeling my nuts off of one of my legs or something like that. It's ridiculous.
Amen, dude. It's not made for people like me.
Definitely not. Well, I mean, it's not made for anybody, I don't think. I think it's just, I mean, I'm from Florida. I was born and raised here, and it's like, I'm not trying to get in a weird, with the climate fucking disaster shit,
Yeah.
but something, global warming shit, but something's going, listen, it is getting hotter. But I also feel like global warming's a thing, but it's a natural thing that's just going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't think all the scientific, like, let's try to postpone, like, we can postpone it 5 fucking years. Like, who gives a shit? We're all going to be dead anyway. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, if I recycle enough bottles, I will save the world. So, you know.
Recycling, listen, I'm not against recycling, but I think it's a fucking scam because, like, my mom lives in Broward County over in Fort Lauderdale, Florida area, you know?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And like, they discontinued recycling. Like, people have full, yeah, like, people are filling their recycle bins up.
Yeah.
So they're using it, and they're like, oh, well, they don't do it anymore. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, oh, they discontinued it. They stopped.
Really?
She's like, if you want to recycle, you got to take it to like a public supermarket or a Walmart or something and drop it off.
Jesus. Yeah.
So that leads me to believe that my county and everybody else, if they're doing away with it in a large city like that,
yeah, that
means it's just a scam. I heard a long time ago that they just take the recycle shit and dump it in the landfill anyway. You know, it's like, so it's kind of a scam. They probably like ding you for an extra $100 a year on taxes for a stupid fucking can with a yellow lid on it or something. I don't know.
Dude, I know like paper recycling plants, like whenever they study the emissions, it's more harmful than like actual just paper.
I think a lot of that is, I mean, when you talk about big plants, like we have an electric plant over here, and the amount of electricity that gets pulled off, it probably takes care of the city or whatever like that. But there's so much shit coming out of these like 5 smokestacks. And I'm looking at it just when I'm up going over the bridge or whatever, sitting on a traffic light, it's like dumping this black shit out. And I'm like, we're definitely breathing this stuff in. Like, it can't be good for you. You know what I mean?
Dude, I grew up like, the city I grew up in is like, you know, it basically surrounds this giant plant, like manufacturing chemical. They do like plastic manufacturing or whatever.
Also, horrible.
Also a city where it's like the highest crime rate in Texas. One of them. Are those things related? Most likely. A lot of meth.
Where are you at in Texas?
So the city's called Longview. Like, that's what I'm from. It's like East Texas, kind of like outside of Dallas. I mean, a little way
outside of Dallas. Okay, so closer to Dallas. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the it's a interesting place. I'll say that. A lot of meth addiction, which makes for, you know, a lot of fun.
Methodist or meth heads?
Both actually.
Yeah. My dog likes to catch meth heads. You don't like them.
Yeah. Well, hey, amen. Dude, dogs are smart as hell. They should know.
He does. He knows. But yeah, I tell him, listen, guy, you don't need to be biting them meth heads. You know, you'll get the disease or something like that. You know, he doesn't get it.
It's crazy that he can even like catch up to them. Meth addicts are like very spry people.
He catches them by surprise. I think they start getting complacent. And he just catch one of them was just posted up on his mom, that's my ex, was posted up on his or her side of her house. Just, I don't know, randomly like, hey, let me take a break here. I guess I don't know. And she had him on a leash and was walking him. And he's a bulldog, pit bull. So he like yanks her around the corner, and she's like, "What the fuck's going on?" And next thing you know, he's got hold of the back of the leg of this meth head intruding the yard. You know what I mean? The guy called the cops, tried to have him thrown in dog jail and shit. And the cop was like, "Wait a minute, you're in trespassing in somebody's yard while the dog was on a leash and it bit you, and you want me to do something about the dog while you're." How about I just take you to jail? And the guy was like hobbled off bleeding somewhere. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then another meth head was just come up to the car trying to panhandle off the interstate. I was getting off, and I had to like roll the window up because the dog was gonna go fly out there after. I don't know. It was weird because he's the greatest dog with everybody, cats and everything. Like he doesn't hurt nothing.
Yeah.
But man, he wanted to tear this guy up, and he had the familiar symptoms of a meth head. He's a little squeakish. So
you can spot one from a mile away. Like it is a.
I mean, it's always a mile away because they're usually running 100 fucking miles an hour. So I mean, like that's the closest view you'll get of one if it's running. That's for sure.
Dude, yeah. I would be more scared of like a meth head than like any of your snakes. Like I would rather.
Yeah, maybe because I mean, you hit a snake, it's gonna die or something like that. You hit a meth head, it might turn into the Incredible fucking Hulk and rip your head off or something. You just never know what you're getting.
Very true.
It's like guys on PCP, like these motherfuckers base jump off of buildings and don't even worry about the parachutes. They get up and run to the next one and shit.
Dude, there was a dude who was on PCP and ripped his testicles off and threw them at the cops.
That's a little rough, man. That's ballsy. I mean, I don't even think monkeys and primates do that kind of shit. That's primitive shit. Now, when I was a kid, I remember in Miami, my friend was a North Miami Beach police officer, and he was talking about this meth head they were chasing and jumped off of like a 5-story building roof. Like just like jumped right off it, like it was jumping off of a fucking curb or something. Smashes into the ground, shatters his knees and legs and everything from like the knees down, just crushes his, and still gets up and runs like 100 yards before he realized he had no legs under him. It was crazy.
That's amazing.
I mean, it's like, in one way you're like, man, I kind of want to fucking try this shit and see what I can do. But then the other hand, it's like, no, you're making bad decisions when you're jumping off of fucking buildings. Like,
exactly. Dude, trust me, it has crossed my mind multiple. I'm like, whenever I see people like who, like if I went to school with them, they looked pretty good in school. Now I see them, I'm like, oh, you look like you're 70 years old. Part of me thinks like, this must be amazing. Yeah. Like it must feel so good.
There's something, I don't know. I mean, I do know, I'm the same way. I look back at a high school and some people look like they're aging worse than me. And then honestly, there's some people where it's like, holy shit, you haven't changed a bit since high school. Like, oh my God. But it's usually the girls. The girls kind of usually stay the same. The dudes look like they're 90. Like then the chicks all seem like you can tell they're older versions of themselves, but they still pretty much look the same, Yeah. I mean, some of them get slouchy and let themselves go, I guess, but that's life. We all have the ups and downs of that. Age comes like a motherfucker. Oh, God. My birthday is actually in like 4 days or something like that, 5 days, something like that. So I'm not sure if I want to like subtract a year and start going backwards, or if I'm just going to accept the fact that I'm going to be that age. I'm not even going to throw that out there, but
Hey man, well, happy early birthday.
Well, I mean, look at it this way. I mean, Wildboyz was back in 2003.
Yeah.
So it's not hard. It's not hard to do math. That's 20 years ago, 20 years ago. That's when we started Wildboyz. That's when I got bit by a cobra, my first snake bite, stuff like that. So I mean, there was a 20-year stretch, man. But if I look at it, my mentality, it's like, man, I did a lot of cool shit in the last 20 years. You know what I mean? So, and I'm still going, and we're still going. Like we're not stopping the adventures. Right now, the adventures are slow because COVID turned everything to shit. Like I do shows, I do live demonstrations for part of my season, and I haven't had a show in like 3 years. My buddy finally put on one of his festivals. He's like my little brother, and he hired us on to come do alligator wrestling shows and stuff like that. So we did get like one gig this year, which kind of saved that month. But the rest of the year has been like super shit for the last 3 years. And when that started taking a dive, we were like committed to like rebuilding the facility, everything out here in my animal compound, 10, 20 years old, different phases of things. So it's time for like an upgrade, and the new standards with fish and wildlife and everything like that. The regulations get ridiculous sometimes, but to stay in compliance, we're trying to build everything over and beyond, just where first off the animals are happy, second off everybody will just leave us the fuck alone. So it's been a trying thing doing that, because trying to figure out where the income's coming in to pay the bills, and then the inflation right now is killing us on materials. Like we had a budget for getting X, Y, and Z done, and we're lucky if we get one thing done out of the 5 that we wanted to get done. So it's just been one of them. It's probably been the most challenging couple years that I've probably had in my career, even, I feel like, because
I would imagine.
It's just really, really weird, because it's like things cost more, but money comes less. And I'm not understanding. I'm not a politician person at all, so I'm not even gonna get into any politics stuff. But I definitely know when you're basically paying and struggling and everything in your life just to work. Like I had to pick up a part-time job helping somebody take care of their animal collection, stuff like that. It's right up my alley, so it's not terrible. But I had to get something to cover all the expenses so I can use the extra money for upgrading everything here that I make on, doing my animal stuff. So it's been one of those things, man. It's like for the first time you feel like you work your ass off to barely even break even. And why do people need to live like that? Like, why are we working, pay the tax man, and basically we're like working and paying to work. That's all we're doing. We pay the government so we can work to pay more money. It's like, what do you get out of that?
Well, that's
so I've never had that type of thing. I've always been my own man, successful early on, because I put my time. I started this when I was 10 years old, this animal stuff. So by the time I was old enough to go on my own and do my thing, I had the credentials and the knowledge of the animal things, where whatever avenue I wanted to take, I was able to very easily just go that direction and take my knowledge with it and turn it into something. And I've always just kind of called my own shots. I've seen people in life in general around me, watch my dad work at a place that he hated for a long time to support the family. And as much as, you have to do what you got to do, you see and I never really talked about this, honestly, just, because my dad, he's done the best he can. He just passed away a couple months ago. So that's why I guess it's easier to just go out and say, but I did notice the emotional breaking of somebody that, and even same thing, I've watched my brother go through it through several jobs in his career. He's an IT kind of guy. He's probably the best at what he does. But there's always, when you have somebody else that you work for, I feel like that person has just some weird ability to make your life miserable, whether they try to or not. And it's an emotional breaking, and and some people choose that. Like my brother he's like I said, he's great at what he does, so he's fully capable of just doing his own thing. But he kind of, his checks and balances, where do I want all this responsibility to do my own thing or do I just want to get my job done, get that money, and enjoy spending the money any way I want to? And that's the path he chose. He just had to find the right person to work for that didn't make him feel emotionally broken at the end of, because at the end of the day, when you're working for somebody else, you're putting your heart and soul into making them rich for your paycheck, and your paycheck pays the government and everybody. You really don't enjoy life with what you're making that next person. So right there it's a pride swallowing fucking holy shit just to even make that choice in life. And I commend people that can balance that out and do that. Some people, it just becomes an unfortunate thing. You have a family too early or something like that, maybe, or where you get married early, it doesn't work out. Now you got all these expenses. I mean, there's several situations, you know what I mean? People, like, it could happen to anybody in any situation, but whatever it might be, you just don't have a choice. And that struggle is real too. I don't have kids. I've never been married. I was married to the animal industry early. So like having big cats and bears and all these things and all the animals that we take care of on a daily. It's one of those things where you're married to that industry, and that actually becomes more expensive, I think, than an actual family, because you almost require your animals to make that money back that you're putting into them, but because the expenses are every day, but the income's not.
Yeah.
So it's a really, really tough thing to balance. Like once you have the animals, it's hard to get ahead. So my advice that I give to people that are wanting to get into this now are get everything you want in order and then decide what you want to take on, because at that point, that's what you're committed to. And you need to not worry about advancement. You need to worry about putting your time and efforts into those animals. So it was a learning thing for me. I mean, I was young. I'm one of the pioneers of what you see as far as like the YouTube influencers and stuff like these days with the animal stuff. I mean, when Wildboyz and Jackass and all the stuff that I was doing on TV was around, it wasn't like YouTube where it's like, let me just put myself on TV. It's like you had to work and put a lot of effort into trying to get noticed enough to where somebody wanted to put you back on again and again and whatever like that. And you know, there's all kinds. So it was just a weird transition we're in right now. Like, you know, it's like I feel like I have to almost get reborn in my brain to try to fit and, you know, keep my relevance in what I've already created. And it's not a hard thing. It's just the mental thing of making that commitment, and it is. And I'm not discrediting anybody that does the YouTube thing that makes good money at it, because if you're making money at it, you're putting time and effort into it, like editing videos, getting content, making sure the content's good, making sure that you're doing professionally, making sure you have less criticism on every angle it's like, especially with animals. So there's a lot that goes into it. So I don't ever discredit anybody for that. I can appreciate the work that goes into it. I just feel like it's become the to where it's like almost like the industry standard is like these guys out there that don't have the experience that myself and another 100 people like me that have put 30, 40 years into this game. I feel like we get dismissed a lot because knowledge over fame doesn't exist like it used to. There used to be a respect. Whereas, hey, that motherfucker's been doing this 50 years. Don't shit on him at all. Where now it's like, who cares? I'm more fan. Fuck you. I'll shit on this guy. Like, just to get to the top. It's really, really weird. Like, we're in a very, I guess it would be like a generational transition is how I have to look at it. We're in a different time, and they say old dogs are hard to teach new tricks, and it's not really too far from the truth. At the end of the day, when you're raised, like, I feel like to comply with the way it is now, you have to almost drop a little bit of your moral standards and things on certain levels. And it's just, I don't know, man. My grandfather, he's been dead for a long time, and I still feel like he'll punch me in the back of the head if I fucking do something stupid, like, and treat somebody a certain way. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's one thing to, you know, to fight with people or whatever and have disagreements or whatever it might be, but everybody deserves a certain level of respect if they put that in there. And there just seems to be a lack of that these days. So, I mean,
I can see that.
I'm all about bring back ass whoopings. Like, people should be whooping their kids' ass instead of like fucking participation trophies. I think that's stupid as fuck. You know?
Yeah. Getting awarded for trying,
for showing up. No, how about you fail because you're not a winner today? Go be a winner and make them try harder.
Yeah.
Like, I've only ever been an accomplished person in my life because I've never diverted from a goal. When I don't reach it, it's motivation to get to it.
Yeah.
If I knew that I could go like this, like even for instance, like the YouTube thing, if this existed back 15 years ago when we were pitching television shows to Discovery and Animal Planet and all these things like that, if that existed, I'd be retired millionaire right now.
Oh, for sure.
We our content creation between myself and a couple of the guys that I work with, we were murdering the scene, you know, but we didn't put it on YouTube because we didn't want to relinquish those rights to put it out publicly for free.
Yeah.
Because back then footage was worth so much a minute, so much a second, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, yeah.
And we were about creating content and selling it as opposed to just giving it away and putting ourselves on TV. Right. And it was more of a deserved thing instead of just a popularity contest. And that's kind of what it turned into. Well, social media ruined, I think not even social media, the internet has ruined several industries at the same time as it's elevated others. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
it's made it very easy to network and to make money and things like that. But then like in my business, for instance, like back when we used to import export reptiles, you could import I don't know exact numbers anymore, but I'll just throw like a half-ass number. So like you could import a cobra for $50 and then turn around, bring it into the States. Once it gets here with shipping and all these different fees, you got about $70-$80 into this thing. And you turn around, you flip it for $250.
Right. Right.
Okay, there you go. Some come in dead, some come in sick. So they don't make any money. You got to, figure that out. So it balances out. You still make a decent money. So then the internet comes around. Everybody starts posting their price lists, and they have these forums and all these little groups and all this little shit. And these people that were importing from Indonesia or Malaysia or wherever, Taiwan back in the day, places like that, they're on the internet too, because it's the worldwide fucking web. So they're looking at it going, oh, you're charging $250. Why are we only charging you $50? Yeah, the price just went up to $150. The problem is the American people are like, well, I don't give a fuck. I'm only paying $250 for it.
Yeah.
So the profit margins get slashed up, and that happened not just with reptiles. That happened, I'm sure, birds and a lot of other industries. Just any type of goods, the import-export goods. People start seeing the markups that get made because the cost of living now even in Florida is the worst in the United States, but the United States is a very high cost of living.
For sure.
Compared to like Mexico or to Thailand or Vietnam or I go to get Vietnamese food and I'm spending a $20 just to go in there for myself and eat. You go to Vietnam, you're spending like $2 on the same food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're happy to get that. Like they're not greedy. Like the difference is once something gets Americanized or Europeanized, I guess would be the influence that I see. It's a greedy thing because countries like South American countries and Central American countries, I've been all through there, and I've had friends of mine go to Asia, which is a dream of mine, is to go to like Thailand, Vietnam, and I want to go see king cobras out in the wild. And see, I want to interact with some cool shit. But those types of countries that are non-European influence, they're very, very simple and appreciating people. Like they're very, you know what I mean? Like waking up to life in the morning is the best feeling in the world, and everything after that's a blessing, and they acknowledge that. And
well, there's also there's not like the overall need of just like milking everything for like as much as I can get. It's more just like, all right, what can I do to get by decently comfortably? If whatever that amount is, I don't need to go over that. But
that's kind of how I live too. But at the end of the day, there's necessities, and that's why it's like money can't buy happiness. Well, at the end of the day, you need money to get to the things that make you happy. That's the problem. It's like, and over there in these other countries, they just don't. The value of things have never exceeded the appreciation of things. I feel like, and that's where. And that's almost like a Native American culture where it's like the law of the land. Like you believe you always like give more than you take kind of thing,
Right.
Take less, take less than you give kind of thing. It's just one of those, it's a mentality. Like if you're going to take something from the earth, give something back to it.
Well, it's a conservation mentality.
It is. And same thing with Africa and like all these countries that are still have Aboriginal mentality or people with that mentality. That's the purest form of freedom and like no stress, and there's just a lot of things in it. It stems away from, and with or without being religious or anything, it just stems away from like the bad things that you would see in a religion, like greed and all these things that I hate to say it, but all politicians seem to add up to the shit nobody wants in their life. So it's one of those things where I believe that taking that example of the people that have nothing and are more happier than the people that have everything.
Yes.
There's something psychologically there that people are overlooking. Like this person has absolutely nothing, doesn't even know a fucking Roku TV even exists, and they are happy as hell in the morning, sweating their asses off, wearing a fucking loincloth.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody in America happy wearing a fucking loincloth, sweating with no TV.
No.
I can guarantee you that.
No.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just really, like, it's really weird when you start really paying attention to detail of different cultural things and the emotional content and what they believe in and what they stand for.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to see that modern society is very broken. It's very broken in a lot of ways. It's fixed a lot of things to make it easier, but it's also made it easier to break more shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, it's really weird.
Well, it's definitely like softened, I think, just people's like mentalities, which is
oh my god, everybody's a soft fucking pussy now. It's like you can't even tell a joke. You're a comedian. You can't even tell a fucking joke with at least 30% of the people wanting to complain about something you said.
Dude. Well,
I couldn't even say the phrase probably white guy without fucking people calling me a racist, and I'm fucking half white. Like, what the fuck?
You can say white guy,
white, but
yeah.
That's what I'm saying, though. But it's like, it's weird, but like weird things that used to be able to be said.
Yeah.
Now it turns into something different. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Everything has to have a pronoun to it. White, black, Hispanic. It's always a racist thing. And it's weird because like my grandfather, I could talk about him, I guess, because he's dead. He ain't going to kill me. But he was grown up in North Carolina in the times where, I mean, he wasn't racist. Like he had, like one of his best friends was Philippine, and you know he had different family type friends and different races. So he was never racist, but he grew up in the South where saying certain things, which I'm not going to drop on your channel.
Thank you.
Because I don't want to be that fucking guy. I mean, normally I wouldn't give a shit because I stand by my beliefs, and there's nothing. Yeah. I have respect for anybody and everybody that deserves it. It's how you treat me is how where that stands afterwards. You know what I mean? But it was weird because I remember growing up, I had a friend of mine. He wasn't white. I'll just leave it there. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to get into all that again. But my grandfather would say things super offensive, and it would offend me because this kid's my best friend.
Yeah.
But he wasn't saying it to be mean. He was just saying it because that was the dialect that he grew up with. Like that's how they referred to things. But it made me angry enough seeing my friends like kind of feel some kind of way about it. And to me, growing up, me and my brother always used to think, you know, we thought it was just funny the way he was. And then when you get older, you start realizing that that's not the way things really need to be. And my mom, that's his daughter, she never understood that. So she taught us at a young age, like everybody, it doesn't matter what color or religion or what, you know, people treat you like a good person, then you respect that and don't let, you know, and stick up for people like that. Yeah. Like both my parents were always anti-bullying, like don't like stick up for people that can't defend themselves kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was weird because in my lifetime I've been called a racist, and I've been because of jokes and things that I make. Yeah. But these same jokes, like I've told with friends of all colors, and we all laugh. So it was never a serious thing. Yeah. Like we always kind of had, you know, we grew up with comedians that based 90% of their material off racism, but it wasn't for anything else but to make people laugh. And the people they were making fun of was half of their crowd. Like it wasn't, nobody got offended like they used to. And then all of a sudden we get this wave of new age millennial, whatever the fuck's going on. I don't even know, to be honest with you. Yeah. What generation fucking weird. But now everybody's offended by everything. And not only are they offended by it, they're trying to push the rest of the world to support that we're more racist now than ever. And I feel like we almost are. Like we're definitely not as racist. But we weren't as racist as it is now in our country and our world. As 20 years ago, it wasn't like that. It should have been worse, but it's not. It's worse now. Because you hear it all the time. You have to like step on eggshells just to say something that might not offend somebody. Like, I'm not that guy. Like, listen, I have my opinion. You have yours. I'm not, you know, I have no quarrels with anybody of religions and races or whatever. Like, I don't care what's going on in the world. Like, I feel bad for the Vietnamese people that we were even over there blowing shit up. Like, I look back on it now, like we went over and invaded a bunch of jungle fucking running around people for no reason. Some type of greed. I mean, there's obviously an inside story, but I'm glad I wasn't alive back then, because I would have looked at that and said, so something ain't right here. And I probably would have hung out with the Vietnamese people and, been like a traitor or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, because it's like, it's like right and wrong is one thing, but to fight other people's wars that for their own personal gain, like I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
I support our military and everybody like to the utmost extent, because to go out there and volunteer to do a job that a lot of people don't want to do. But I don't feel like they're necessarily being treated properly either, because they're out there sacrificing their lives for things that aren't really helping what they think it's helping. It's helping somebody else's pocket or somebody else's politics or somebody else's this or that. And I feel like it's, I don't know, it's probably time for some type of rejuvenation of the way, not just our country, but the way the world works. We have to start looking at things a little bit more. Because at the end of the day, the greed of we want this land, we want that land, like the whole Ukraine, Russia, and the China, Taiwan, and America wanting a piece of everything because we fucking suck. And like just all these different things. It's like, where does it end?
Yeah.
After everything's destroyed, what do you fucking have? You have to spend all the money that could be helping. Like when we're helping people, like for instance, we have this thing going on in Florida. Everybody hears about this whole Burmese pythons running loose in the Everglades and all this shit.
Yeah.
All right. So like we were doing some math on this shit the other day. It makes no fucking sense. So for all these years that they've been in the Everglades, since the 50s and shit, by the way, 50s, 60s, they've been out there. And there's a big population of them now. I'm not going to dismiss the fact that we have a situation out there, but for a long time it was in the Everglades National Park. Well, the national park is separate from the state of Florida. It's a federal national park.
Right.
So the National Park Service was protecting these invasive pythons for all these years, and that's where they were breeding. So the only ones that we were ever allowed to catch or get rid of were the ones that came out of the park.
Yeah.
So now you got this breeding hub of fucking pythons in this area that's being protected, and all we're catching is the overflow on the outside of it.
Yeah.
And they're wondering why it's still a fucking problem. It's because every time you drive through the park, you see 10 of them, but you're not allowed to pick them up and catch them.
Right.
Well, if half of those are females, then they're producing probably 50 a year each. There's another 500 of them.
Yeah.
Right? So the math is really easy. The math is real easy. So for years they had this program called the Conditional Species Permit. Once they started realizing they need to kind of keep a better eye on people that have big snakes, because if they get tired of the fucking thing and they're just going to go throw it in the Everglades, it's going to be a problem. They've already figured that out.
Yeah. So,
and that's not how it started. A couple of them happened like that, but the main thing was during Hurricane Andrew back in 92 or 94 or whatever it was. I guess it wiped down a building that had a breeder that had a shitload of Burmese pythons.
Oh, okay.
And that's where it started to become a problem, because now there's a lot of them out there in one area and not just a straggler here and there. So they put this program together. Program consisted of having a permit, getting inspected like I do for my alligators and crocodiles and snakes and everything here. Getting inspected by the fishing game once or twice a year. You had to put a microchip in the animals you had to make sure if it did get out, they can pinpoint where it came from and that person's responsible, whatever. Yeah. So in the 10 years they had this program, nobody had an escape, nobody had a release, nobody had any incidents of getting hurt or bit, or the public hurt or bit or anything like that. Perfectly working program. And that permit also allowed me to go out in the Everglades, not in the park, but go out there, catch a python, put it in a pillowcase, bring it home. Most of the time I feed them to my king cobras when they're small enough. But a lot of times I have guys in the pet trade that are in Texas and North Carolina and all throughout the country. So we ship the Burmese pythons to them. Safe note on that, if it gets loose in Pennsylvania, it's probably going to die once the winter comes, because they can't handle that.
Right.
So it's a working system. Catch them out of Florida, ship them out of Florida, get them somewhere else. There's no reason kids should be deprived of having a pet python. I was allowed to have one. So was everybody before me, generational. Like at the end of the day, fair is fair. People should be able to enjoy the things they enjoy in life. Just regulate it so it doesn't become a problem. And I'm okay with that too. So then like 3 years ago, they came up with this new program called HSC, which is Habitat Species Conservation, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
So then they came in and they took all our permits away and said, you're not allowed to live capture any more pythons. It's mandatory. If you catch one, you have to kill it on site. Okay,
Really?
well, I'm an animal. I'm an animal guy, and so was most of the people that were efficiently catching pythons in the wild. We don't want to kill animals for two reasons. That's not what we do. We're not out just killing things to kill. I mean, I have no problem putting something down, euthanizing it. I'm a hunter. There's a lot of things where I'm okay with killing, but not just because they're forcing me to kill something that I very easily can send it out of state to a home where it's going to get cared for like a dog or a cat.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that's the thing is somebody can go to a pet store and buy a pet dog or a cat. But what if I don't like dogs or cats? What if I'm allergic to dogs and cats and I want a pet snake? Like, people shouldn't be deprived of their pursuit of happiness, which is in our Constitution, in our Bill of Rights and all this thing. So they make this law, and now so here's a quick thing. Before they took my license, the year that I still had a license, the last year I had it, I caught like 90 baby pythons in like 3 nights. Right?
Really?
So that's 90 snakes out of the Everglades in 3 nights, and I made probably $100 a piece. So that's like $9,000 I made, right?
Yeah.
So now not only are they cutting off my source of income, which could be essentially $10,000 to $15,000 extra a year to help me feed and take care of my animals, they're making their problem worse. And then last year they had this Python challenge thing. They do it every year. They're getting ready to do another one.
I saw that. Yeah.
Super fucking stupid. Yeah. So they like put up like $3 million towards python removal through the year or whatever. And I think the total number that was turned in last year was like 289 pythons.
Okay.
So when you break it down, it's like $10,400 fucking dollars per python. When I'm out there willing to do it for free to make $9,000 for 90 snakes, right? And that's a third of what they did the whole year. I did in 3 nights.
Right. For the same amount of money that they were doing per snake.
Not even for free. Yeah. Like basically, I'm doing it for free, and I'm getting $100 a snake. Well, they paid $10,000 per snake. When you do 289 divided by 3 million, comes out to like 10,400 and change per snake. Dude. There's not a Burmese python on the planet that's worth $10,000, let alone a nuisance one out in the Everglades, right? So that's in my mind. I see these numbers, and I'm like, why are we spending millions of dollars in tax money when I had to go give the guy on the corner over there a hamburger because he's homeless, can't get a job, and can't eat? Like, what's going on here? We're spending money on dumb shit when we have people willing to do it for free. Give us our licenses back. That's 1,000 people in Florida that's willing to go help.
Yeah, and make a way bigger dent in the problem. Make a dent, save the state and taxpayers money, and make the money on our own by selling them outside of the pet trade. And on top of us making money, we pay taxes, which is actually a state income as well. So we're helping more economically and politically in the whole 9 yards, doing it the old way than this new created way, which is counterproductive, costing money, costing livings. There's people moving out of Florida to Texas, to Alabama and stuff to take their animals because there's so many rights being infringed on here in Florida that's unconstitutional as hell. Like the interference of interstate commerce, which is what that would be. Just the fact that I had a license for 25 years or 30 years that says I can have bears and elephants and fucking venomous snakes, king cobras. Yeah. And now they all of a sudden, 30 years later, they tell me I'm not qualified to handle a non-venomous python. Are you fucking kidding me right now? So did that interfere with like what you're allowed to have now? Like, are you still able to have your cobras and everything?
Well, no. So I can have all my venomous stuff as of now. They're trying to pass laws to ban all that shit too.
Really?
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous here. But the problem is like I had a python, an albino Burmese, and albino retic or something like that here. After they had passed that law, and then they come out knocking on my door telling me I have to forfeit the animals like free. Like these are money animals that cost money, and I got to give them away so they can euthanize them. Like what the fuck?
Whoa!
Dude. And one of these animals my friend had raised from a baby. Yeah. And the other one in question was given to me by the Florida Fish and Game because they confiscated from somebody that didn't have a permit and gave it to me because I had one to hold on to. And then 2 years later, they took my permit and then they tried to tell me I'm a criminal because I have an illegal python. What?
That's
here's
amazing.
the thing. Here's the thing. So if you pick up a python, like let's say you came down from Texas, and you're like, hey man, I want to go out and see a fucking python. All right, let's go. We ride out. And I say, look, there's a python right there. And you walk out there and pick this motherfucker up, little baby, doesn't matter. Pick it up and take a selfie with it. Put it on your Instagram and put that snake back on the ground because you don't want to kill it.
Right.
You're not a killer. You thought it was cool. I'm not going to kill this thing. I'm going to put it back down and just let it have a chance. Once you put that snake back down on the ground, you're a fucking criminal. That's a criminal charge.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, that is
craziest shit in the world. The Fish and Game doesn't give tickets for captive wildlife stuff that's not criminal. Like, for instance, they just recently came out and did an inspection on my property. I had a structural thing that wasn't exactly to a new standard that was only a couple years old.
Right.
But now the building in question for 20 years, it's the one where I got bit in the stomach on TV and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I had cobras and mambas and everything, like craziest, deadliest shit in the world in that room.
Yeah.
Same room, hasn't changed. But because they added new specs and I didn't have everything buckled up to that, I got a criminal fucking citation. I'm fighting it in court right now. A criminal, not like that'd be like getting a fucking cracked windshield ticket and having to go to misdemeanor court over it.
Yeah.
Instead of just paying the ticket and go home.
Right.
No, I'm fighting for a criminal fucking record. And then on top of it, they passed a law in the midst of all this court shit that if you get any type of citation or warning against your inspection, they can deny the renewal of my license, even though I've been licensed for 30 years.
Really? Dude,
yeah.
what?
So I'm literally over a misdemeanor citation that was a structural thing. It had nothing to do with the health or the care or the well-being of an animal. Nothing at all. I'm fighting for my livelihood. Like they can take it away. Because if I do get my license taken, I'm not allowed to work with animals for at least 3 years.
Wow.
And I do that. My job is working with animals and my livelihood on top of it. So
yeah, and you've been
what
doing
do
it
what do I do
life.
my entire life? I was 10. Never went to school or nothing for anything else. I've been an animal guy my whole life.
Dude.
And now the fear of going to bed and waking up tomorrow and it all might not be there is present. And I've never had to deal with that in my life either.
That is insane. Like it is almost as though the government is incompetent.
Well, here's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
PETA has a stronghold in a lot of things. They're a very powerful entity. They have a lot of money.
Yeah.
So when they bark, people listen because they start threatening with lawsuits and stuff that they can pay for and keep people tied up. And finally they give in because they're like, all right, just drop this lawsuit and we'll give you what you want.
Well, they're terrorists.
They're fucking terrorists. Yeah. So that's what's going on. I think there's some infiltration because the influence that I see in the agenda for the Fish and Game in Florida now is kind of like a HSUS or a PETA thing, where they just don't want people to have animals at all. Like this new list of proposed banned species and shit like that they just put out. Like fucking ball pythons are on it. They get like this bit, a ball python. And the thing that's fucked up, and the thing that's fucked up about it, it's like, for instance, like if I reach over here, let me see. It's not a good example of one. Like this here, for instance. Okay. Like this is a fucking ball python. That's as big as it gets, right?
Yeah.
This one just happens to be a cool patterns and different weird shit, on it.
Oh,
so this snake's probably worth over $1,000.
Right.
Why in the fuck would I go turn loose a fucking snake out in the Everglades? It's worth $1,000 fucking dollars.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Like people don't do this shit. That's how retarded they are. People are not gonna do. Like the guys that do ball pythons have shit that's worth $5,000-$10,000. Why would they turn it loose? Like they're gonna be super careful about it. So to tell people you can't breed or fucking sell babies of your shit anymore after they've invested tens and twenties and hundreds of thousands of dollars into it.
Yeah.
Like how do you do that to somebody? Like you're literally like telling them you can't make a living doing what you spent all your investment into doing.
Yeah, well, because they don't care. I mean, they don't care about like
they don't
the
care.
aftermath of like their decision. So they make a decision because they think, oh, this is going to make us look good. Look at us, we're saving the world. But they don't care about the fact that there's this aftermath.
Somewhere there's money in it. Because if you look at the reality, if you look at the reality, it's like this. Not even with PETA, but in general, like law enforcement, government, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
The fishing game, like, here's a good one. Save the Florida panther.
Yeah.
It's always been a big thing. Florida panther's always been known to be an endangered species. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my theory's always been this. Save the habitat and the animals can save themselves on their own. We didn't interfere when they were doing it before we invaded them.
Right.
We don't need to do it now. We need to give them what they need to do it on their own.
Yes.
But it's like a land grab thing. Like when you're developing all this land in South Florida,
mm-hmm.
and the data statistics show that each cat needs so many square miles for territory purposes, and this, that,
mm-hmm.
and the other. When you get males overlapping territory, they kill cubs, they kill females, they do. The statistics are there. At the end of the day, Florida has as many Florida panthers as it can sustain with what's left of natural Florida.
Right.
So this whole program that's been ongoing for 20 years, Save the Florida Panther, they'll never have a solution for that because
mm-hmm.
the people that work on that, if they solve that problem, they lose their job.
Yeah.
I've never known a government entity to ever sacrifice their own job for the greater good. It doesn't work like that.
No.
And it's not going to start working like that. As a matter of fact, our world's more greedy now than it ever has been. So why would they start solving problems? I mean, it doesn't,
That's, see, that's so like just asinine to me, of just like the fact that,
man, I mean,
like, well, it's just that, animals have like, or people in general too, but animals specifically have a built-in desire to just live. So if you leave them alone, they're probably going to do it. They've been doing it way longer than we've been around.
Look at it like this, like New York people come down, they move to Florida. Oh, there's a fucking alligator in the backyard. Well, asshole, you just moved to Florida on lakefront property.
Yeah.
Next to the Everglades. Like, what do you think? There's fucking minnows in there only? Like, what the fuck? Like, they have four legs and they like water. They go to it. Like, I don't know if I can tell you. And then what they do is they'll call the fishing game, send out a trapper, and they usually kill the alligator. So all these fucking idiots that want to invade and live in Florida because of whatever reason, it has nothing to do with living in Florida, or else they wouldn't be killing all the fucking alligators that come in their backyard. You know what I mean?
It's dude, like I remember the first time I went to Florida, whenever I was a little kid, it took about an hour before we saw an alligator. And I was like, but we weren't like, oh, we got to like get rid of this thing. We were just like, oh, like this is Florida. There are alligators. It's pretty crazy. We saw one like in an hour. Like we didn't think we'd probably even see one, but like our reaction wasn't get rid of it.
Here.
Oh yeah,
they're out here. I mean, well, that's the thing. It takes different. Here's the thing, man. It boils down to what we were just talking about a minute ago. It's that respect of nature and the land. Like these animals are here. If you're gonna move here, expect to move here and share the environment with the animals that were already here.
Yeah.
And show that respect. At the end of the day, I've been working with animals for a long time. I've never had, I'm not going to say never, I've had a couple unprovoked alligator attacks in the wild, but we were swimming in the water with them, things like that. So it's not unprovoked, meaning like we didn't do anything, but being in their territory certain times of the year, it triggers them to defend themselves. So that would be the reasoning for the unprovoked incidents that we've had. But at the end of the day, these animals just want to, like you said, they just want to exist and be themselves. They're not looking to hurt people. Like I just a couple days ago picked up a couple rattlesnakes that I got calls. The water's been up, raining a lot, so the water's up, and caught an eastern diamondback in somebody's yard next to their barbecue grill. And they said, they got my number from somebody, and when they heard that I would come out and remove them, as opposed to killing them or anything like that. He said, he didn't really want to kill it, and he thought that was a good option. So they called me, and you'd be surprised. Like people that just don't understand enough about it, they're the ones that first want to kill everything and then deal with it later or whatever. Most of the time, it's not even a venomous snake, like a rat snake or a black racer. Or something.
I'm sure you've heard this. Like it's definitely like a Texas thing. I'm sure it's probably not just Texas, but like the old like phrase, like a good snake is a dead snake. I heard it a million times.
I hear it all the time, a million times. And I do shows, so I hear that all the time in shows.
Yeah.
And when I educate people on my shows is this: snake is here as part of the food chain for a reason. So if you don't like snakes, that means you really must love rats and mice in your house, because that's what you're gonna get if you don't have rat snakes and like the king snakes will keep the rattlesnakes and stuff at bay. The rat snakes will eat the rats and mice. The rattlesnakes will eat the rats and mice. At the end of the day, just because you have dogs and children, the thing you need to be teaching your dogs and children is watch where watch where you're running.
Yeah, and don't screw with them. Like,
especially out in Texas, there's so many fucking Western Diamondbacks and shit out there. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
a friend of mine lives in San Antonio. Yeah, coral snakes too. My friend lives in San Antonio, and she does snake removal. Okay. A lot of rattlesnakes, a lot of copperheads, a lot of coral snakes too.
Copperheads and water moccasins are like really bad.
So she does that, and I don't know if she charges or she does it for free like I do, but she's the same thing as me. Like, she'll go drive hours sometimes to rescue an animal just so the people that own the house won't kill it, and then she'll remove anything in the area while she's there to keep their houses safe. So there are people out there willing to help as long as people respect those animals enough. I don't want it here, but I don't want it to die. That mentality is really, really okay. But another thing people don't think about, and it's statistically correct, is when you go out of your way to kill a snake, like, oh, I see a snake 20 feet over there, I'm going to go kill it with a shovel or a fishing pole or whatever the hell you're hitting it with at the moment, you're literally increasing by over 50% chance of getting bit by that snake that you wouldn't have had if you just left it alone.
Well, yeah, because the snake's not going to actively seek you out to.
No. As a matter of fact, a rattlesnake especially. So a rattlesnake has the ability with their pits, because they're pit vipers, to detect how big you are, how much you weigh, and how much venom it has to inject in you to kill you. Used mostly for hunting. Like they need to know when they see a rabbit or a rat or a mouse or whatever, where its vital areas are, where the best place to deliver that venom to knock them down and mobilize them quickly. Because you're looking at an animal that has no arms, no legs. It relies on its venom to immobilize its prey so it doesn't have to crawl 50 fucking yards to go eat. It wants to be able to crawl 20 feet, eat it, go back to its den, coil up, digest its food, and be left alone. That's kind of like the idea of a snake. Eat, sleep, sun itself, shed, shit, eat, sleep, rinse, wash, repeat. So it's one of those things where having understanding about the animals takes people's fear away from the animal. And that's what we try to do. Like, my main thing is to educate people enough to where we can step that fear aside and start looking at more of a progressive way to coexist with these animals instead of being so negative. Because I mean, honestly, the coolest experiences in my life were coming out in the backyard one time, and there was a Florida panther hanging out with one of my cougars out by the cage.
Yeah.
And it was, my cougar was in heat, and the Florida panther came up, and he came around for days, and several days I'd go outside and he'd be just hanging out with her, playing with her and stuff.
That's awesome.
And going out in the woods and walking around, and all of a sudden a fucking bear comes walking out, like shit like that. I understand bears, so it's something that's not scary to me, but just to be able to exist on that level where you don't have to be afraid of it and be able to appreciate it and absorb that energy of that moment. Like, I'm a real big energy guy. Like, when I talk to somebody, if that energy's fucking sideways, it's like, nah, like, if my dog doesn't like somebody, it's like, yo, get the fuck out, go wait outside.
That's a great sign.
I'm just real. A lot of it, I had a cat the same way. He loved everybody, but if he didn't like you, or if you were shady, he'd go fucking hide in a certain spot. So when I go over and lift up this fucking deer hide and see the cat laying there, all right, y'all got to get the fuck out of here. Like, somebody in the house, somebody was fucking up and they got to go. So I just pay attention to like that energy that I get from people. If it's negative or if it's like gloomy, I try to keep it at an arm's distance. And at the same time, recognize positive and good energy, whether it's talking to a person or interacting with an animal or just being out in nature and feeling that breeze before a rain or whatever. Like the environment and the world and the universe puts energy in different directions, and if you're tuned into enough to where you can absorb it and feel it, you stay on a good plane, like mentally. You know what I mean? It doesn't like there's a certain level of mental anguish that I won't go below. Like, I'll let myself get taken to the depths of fucking holy shit, but I'll never get rock bottom, and I'll never get past a certain point. Everything past that point just goes without me. You know what I mean? I'm willing to help people I'll give people a lifeline, but when I get to that level, it's like cut the cord, see ya.
Well, do you
know
think
what I mean?
that like handling, so like when you do handle like a venomous snake, so a cobra, rattlesnake, whatever it may be, that there's some kind of like, you know, peace of mind that you get because you have to be 100% in that moment. Like your mind can't wander.
So,
Like, is
so
that
here's
a
how
thing?
it kind of is. So yes and no. So the passion behind me just loving snakes and just always been attracted to a lot of things about them. I mean, these things have no arms, no legs, yet they're apex predator, top of the food chain in a lot of situations, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of makes you think. Like, there's no handicap really there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how you observe it. You know, it's all a what's the word I'm looking for? Perspective. It's all about perspective. Perspective changes everything in life. So, like, it's easier to say, I'm having a shitty day, fuck this day, or I'm having a shitty day, but this happened, so let me just use that positive thing to move forward with the rest of my day. Like, perspective on things can change the outcome of a lot of things, as well as your mental health and everything else, how I feel about it. And I learned a lot of this stuff from working with animals. Like, over the years, training animals, you could easily, like a dog, you can smack a dog and discipline them and make them scared of you. So when you say, get over here, it comes running over not because it wants to, because it's just scared of the consequences, you know?
Right.
Or you can approach it like, how do I talk to this dog where the dog understands it? Because it definitely don't understand the way you and I are talking right now.
Right.
It understands the emotional content behind the tone of voice or the loudness or, you know, volume, things like that. But it doesn't know that I'm saying, you know, like I could name a dog asshole, and it has no idea what a fucking asshole is.
Yeah.
And as long as I treat it well while I call it asshole, I could be like, hey, asshole, and it's gonna come running right up to me, happy as shit. You see what I'm saying? So they don't understand English; they understand real energy language. Like, how are you making me feel? That's why they say dog can sense bad people or whatever. It's just, I don't know. It's tough to explain. So when it comes to the snakes, the same thing. I love snakes. So studying behavior of animals and becoming really good at it has helped me in all aspects of life. Like learning the difference between a lion, a tiger, a leopard, a jaguar, and their different body languages and things that tells what they're going to do to help me predict their behavior, things like that. All those little differences grow that knowledge over and beyond, so it carries over into other things. So, like, when it comes to people are really, really easy to read because they don't have, like, you kind of got to expect anything from a person, first off.
Yeah.
Second off, there's a lot of tells with people, like body language. People don't conceal enough because primitive instinct has escaped modern people for the most part. So a lot of things are very cookie cutter. Like, it's very easy to see something coming. So being good at animals has taught me to be very good with people and like how to like de-escalate situations and not like I used to be into like wanting to just fight shit out and give a fuck. And then, like, as you get older, it's true when they say as you get older, the less you get smarter, not fucking stupider and ballsy or whatever. That's true. Cause like, I catch myself now, like, let me win mentally instead of beating the shit out of somebody. Cause at the end of the day, I feel like if I beat the shit out of somebody now, I'd go home hurting more than that person just cause I'm old and brittle and snake bites and all this shit. Like, if I hit somebody, I'd come home crying about my hand more than they'd be crying about their face. So it's one of those things where it's like, all right, and I'm not a loser, so I got to stay on the winning column. So let me find a different way. You know, that's just adaptation to any situation is the way to advance, and that's just kind of how it's been with animals and people and everything. So when it came to the snakes, it was the same thing. Like, I have the cobras, the rattlesnakes. I learn a lot about them. So there's a lot of things when I'm not doing a show where I'm very complacent. I understand the animals very well. I can make it look really easy, or I can, you know, stay on my toes, make it look hard. But like with all the other things too, is the animals, they relate to whatever energy you're putting off. So if you're very, like in my shows, for instance, I'm very standoffish because it's a show, it's entertainment. Nobody wants to see a fucking rattlesnake that doesn't rattle. So I have to put myself out there to make myself feel threatening so it'll rattle.
Yeah.
So now I have a different animal. Now I'm not handling an animal that I know I can just pick right up with my hands or do whatever I want to, and I'm not gonna have to worry about getting bit. Now I'm turning that animal on into an animal that you don't want to fuck with.
Right.
You could because you could die right now. So once I've made the choice to turn those animals into that behavior mode, then it becomes a different thing. It's an energy thing. There's certain things in the moment where I know, yes, I can get away with it. No, I can't.
Yeah.
And I make that call. That call is usually on the fly. But you do get like an adrenaline charge from it. It's an addictive part of it, because it's like your whole life you're preparing for certain moments. And with my field and what I decided to do, these are the moments that I prepare for. And that's why I don't have a family. I don't have a wife. I don't have, like, when you have things to lose, you can't be great at risking yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's kind of what I take into that mentally is I'm risking my life, but I don't want to die. I'm not scared to die, but I don't want to. I got other things I want to do, like dates to go on and fucking places to see and animals to fuck with. Like, if I die tomorrow, don't get me wrong, I could very easily have the person at my funeral say, hey, I was happy with my life until I died, no regrets.
Yeah.
But I don't want to. So when I go into that, I go into it with the attitude that, like, I have nothing to lose. Because I don't have a family. I'm like, I got my mom and my brother and stuff to be upset if I died. But they also know what I do, and they've accepted, like, I'm doing what I enjoy, and I'm making my own choices. So dying on your own call, it's not a bad thing. So I've accepted that. So that's out of the way. That doesn't bother me. So now you're on this edge of how far can you get to that edge without falling off it one way or other. It's like a razor blade, right? And you're on the middle of it. So if you have children and stuff and you start worrying about what if I die, now you're leaning this way. Or if you start, I eliminated all that. That draw. Yeah. And I ride a very, very fine line. And when I'm in that zone, with usually a big king cobra is a perfect example. Because when I get them in the mode to where they want to bite me, it's not as easy as just handling them anymore. Now it's hand-eye coordination. It's being in fucking energizing sync with that animal to know what's coming. And then I'm in a zone. So when that happens, I don't see a crowd. I don't hear people talking to me. I don't hear. It's just me and that fucking snake. And you'll see some of my photos. You go to my Instagram and see me on some of the videos. Like, I'm dialed in. I'm so focused. It's like nothing, like an explosion couldn't break my fucking focus.
No, you can tell. You can tell in the pictures, like, or in videos, or like of you handling, especially like cobras. Like, it is a laser focus. Like,
it's very precision. Like, I'm like, it's crazy. And you know what? That's my biggest criticism with a lot of the people I see nowadays. You go on YouTube or Instagram and you see people fucking with crocodiles and alligators and snakes and big cats and things. And you see these animals that are dangerous, deadly in most cases. And the person will be like touching the animal like this over here, like, and then they're looking at the camera. And it's like, listen, I've been doing this 35 years. And even me, with all the experience and focus and everything that I've put in my brain and education of those animals, I'm not even good enough to fucking feel with my hand and not be looking at the animal to keep myself out of an accident happening.
For sure.
And I know, and in most cases it doesn't. Like, you're being realistic. A lot of the things you see, people get away with 10 times, 50 times, 100 times.
Yeah.
But what about the 101 time? and then your arm's gone, or your hand's gone, or you're in the hospital from a snake bite, or you're missing a fucking ear from a tiger, or something. You know what I mean? It's just like, is it worth not giving that animal, that deadly, dangerous animal, the respect it deserves by giving it some attention when you're fucking with it?
Yeah.
Like, that to me, it's like, it's disrespectful to the ability of the animal, and it dismisses it. And when other people see it, the new generation see it, that's what keeps going, because people think you don't need to give it that attention and that respect. And that peeves me more than anything out there. I'm kind of happy that more people are getting into the animal thing. I'm just not happy with the direction I see it going because of the mentality of it's lack of knowledge, lack of experience, and lack of what, like, I've seen some rise and falls in the animal industry, and most of it has to do with the way people are presenting it, and they're not presenting it in a manner that people are going to take it fucking serious. They're dumbing it down and turning it into, like, when you see people like petting alligators and kissing them and acting like, okay, yeah, it can be done. Anything can be desensitized. Anything that if you put enough time into it, you can interact with it in ways that people don't think is possible. And that's fine. I'm not dismissing the knowledge and the time and effort that's put into that kind of stuff. But when you only display that and you don't display the devil's advocate side of that animal and the capabilities and how dangerous it can really be, you start making them look cute and cuddly and poor animal. We shouldn't fucking kill it. We shouldn't hunt it. We shouldn't do this. Now we got PETA knocking on the door again.
Yeah.
PETA doesn't give a fuck about shit that's demonized to the point where they're scared of it.
Yeah.
So in my mind, if we want to save our industry, we need to keep the demonizing some of this shit for what it's really worth, not what it could be, what it is naturally. It's naturally a dangerous animal. Yes, it can be conditioned to be this, but every alligator in the wild, you're not going to go up and pet it or you're going to lose your fucking hand. And that's the missing part of the presentation of is the capability of what we're fucking with, not,
Well, and it's also to me like how much time and effort is put into like giving education at the same time. Because if you look at like how you're saying the rises and falls, a lot of it I think has to do with just the fact of like, is there somebody out there who is showing these animals but is also like so obviously like passionate,
educating them.
Yeah, so like Steve Irwin, Jeff Goldblum,
that's the thing that people don't that's the other thing people don't realize. Like even Steve Irwin, rest in peace. Like I have nothing bad to say about him, but one thing that people are not understanding is he put himself out there in the manner that he did, the Steve Irwin show or whatever the fuck they called it.
Yeah.
And I didn't grow up on that. Like he wasn't he wasn't my animal hero. I respected him for what he was. He was an animal guy. He loved animals. He was passionate. He believed in conservation, things like that. Like I utmost respect for him and what he did. But when I first saw Steve Irwin on TV, I had already been wrestling alligators for 6 years or 8 years, and I've already been handling snakes and cobras and big cats. I had my own big cats already. I've already been there, done most of what this guy's trying to do on TV, and I was doing a very poor job at some of it. Why? Not because he wasn't capable, but when you're doing a show and you're going to a tiger sanctuary one day for 2 days and that's it, you're not a tiger expert in 2 days. Okay.
Yeah.
So the lack of paying his dues to each aspect of the animal world, it shows. Like when that guy fucked with a crocodile, you could tell he's put a lot of his life into handling alligators, crocodiles, things like he knew a lot about them.
Yeah.
Same thing with Australian wildlife in general. He knew a lot about Australian wildlife. He grew up there his whole life. He indulged him. His father had the zoo. Like his whole life was about that.
Yeah.
But when you start coming to like America or you go to Thailand where cobras are and there's just different behaviors of things, you can see very clearly as an animal guy what he was comfortable with, what he wasn't. Okay.
Right.
So, but the way the show explained it was that he was an expert in everything.
Yeah.
And made people believe that and see that. So then all of a sudden when the stingray thing happened, oh man, it was just a 1 in a million fucking fluke of nature. No, it wasn't. The stingray, by that statement alone, is just lack of knowledge of fucking stingrays. I'm no stingray expert by any means, but I do know enough to know that when you get a stingray and you flip the fucker over, it's got all these little holes, like little pores on the bottom of them. And those are like almost like sensors, like a sonar sensor. So they know exactly where an animal's heartbeat is at all times.
Really?
That's their defense.
Yeah.
Okay. When they get attacked by a shark, if they can get to where something vital like that would immobilize the shark. I mean, stingray is very, very painful. Even if you get stung by one that big, it'll drop you on your knees. very, very painful.
Yeah.
The heartbeat thing, the only reason why I don't think I say it's not a fluke of nature is because like 4 days after Steve Irwin got killed, a guy here in Florida had one jump in his boat in the intercoastal, and he reached down and pick it up to throw it back overboard, and it popped him in the heart.
Damn.
So
that's crazy. Yeah.
At the end of the day, it was one of those things where him having to live up to that expectation of the show,
yeah,
I think compromised maybe his judgment a little bit to be a little more overconfident, because I'm not saying Steve Irwin wasn't capable of swimming with stingrays. It's not a really hard thing, especially in an environment where that area probably was, people were doing it all the time. They were pretty conditioned.
Yeah.
What they don't understand is when you add elements, and I know this just from gaining content with my friend Mark Rackley. He's a cameraman from Wildboyz, Jackass, and also Shark Week fucking extraordinaire. Like he's
another
got
another badass.
Another badass. Matter of fact, anybody watching this, be sure to tune into Shark Week this week. He produced his own show. Him and another Shark Week veteran, they produced their own show about great white sharks off of Cape Cod, and they're fucking swimming with them and all kind of wild shit. So tune in for Shark Week this year.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you got a guy there that's a stingray expert, which was never on camera as, hey, I'm going to do whatever this guy tells me so I can stay alive. Like that would have been the respectful thing to do, is give the guy credit that put his life into stingrays, teaching a new guy. Like for some reason, people that want to educate themselves attracts people. That's attractive to people. Like humble. I want to know more. I want to be the best at what I do. So I need this guy to teach, kind of thing, which has always been my idea for my own show. So if it ever gets stolen, we've heard it here first, right? But anyway, so I feel like that being pushed into that, because, you know, Animal Planet had a format they wanted for his show and they wanted him to be that guy. But I think that kind of could have caused probably a little bit of compromise in his demise, because when you add the elements like a cameraman, that's a giant eyeball to a fish or a shark or a stingray. And you're swimming around and cornering it off and blocking it off. And then you got Steve swimming above it. Now this thing's feeling defensive. An animal that was probably complacent before that.
Yeah.
Now its defense is on. And then this is the part that I wouldn't know any better. A stingray expert could probably fill in some of those blanks. But I'm sure if we were able to watch the footage up to the moment, there was some type of tell from that stingray that a stingray behavior expert would be able to point out that was telling him, back the fuck off or I'm going to get you.
Exactly.
And that's where I felt, and that happens a lot, where it's, and again, it's not taking any digs at Steve. I miss the guy. I respect him. I wish he was still here with us, because he did a lot of great things. He brought awareness to our industry like no other. He was the best at it. I just wish that they would have formatted it a little bit different for him to absorb that education publicly, and it wouldn't have been so. I felt like he was almost pushed to be that guy more than he needed to be sometimes. And
being pushed probably out of his comfort zone or area of expertise. Because
definitely, because even myself, I've been in those situations where, like even with Wildboyz or something like that, where they're like, "Oh, we want to do X, Y, and Z."
Yeah,
and it's like, that's cool, but you're not an animal guy, so X, Y, and Z equals really fucking stupid. Let's regroup. Like certain things that I just want, and not even Wildboyz Jackass. I've had other TV shows. Hey, we want to do this show about snakes, and we were thinking about this. Like I had one show. They were like, what kind of venomous snake can you get bit by where we could film it? Like fucking none, fucking asshole. Like I'm not fucking getting bit by on purpose.
That was a real question.
Yeah, but that's the thing, man. When you got people that are thinking about what people want to see, and they don't know anything about animals, they're going to come up with some asinine fucking ideas because they don't know. And then when I sit them down and say, okay, here's why. And then I explain like one of my snake bites, like how I'm near death and fucking dying and liver failure and all this shit. Oh, and $100,000 fucking dollars of this and $200. The end of it, $500,000 for one snake. They're like, yeah, we don't want to do that. Of course you don't want to do that. You're going to pay for that, and I'm going to die for it. So fuck that.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things, like me going into a computer store and asking them about fucking gigabytes and RAMs and fucking sheep and all kinds of weird shit. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm going to go in there and ask dumb questions. And the guy that knows his shit, I guarantee, is rolling his eyes every time I turn my head, going, is this guy fucking serious right now?
Yeah.
Like, do you know anything? No, I don't know anything about this shit. Like, tell me
Right.
what I need to know. So
Right.
it's just one of those things, man. Everybody has their niche. Like, I don't go telling the fucking cable guy how to run fucking cable. I don't go telling the fucking plumbers how to do their job. I don't need
Yeah.
people trying to tell me what I fucking be doing with mine. I know I'm an expert at what I do. And I don't even say expert. I say expert very loosely because I don't believe there's such thing as an expert in anything. If you haven't absorbed the idea that you're learning until you're dead, then you're no
Yeah.
expert. Only an expert can acknowledge they're not going to be an expert. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at. Like, I feel like when I'm gone, I'll be looked at as some type of legend in a lot of senses for a lot of things that I've accomplished. But at the end of the day, like, there's a lot of shit that I don't know, and I just don't have the opportunity to learn it. And I'm waiting for that opportunity, like going out to Thailand and seeing these snake handlers out there that are the original Cobra handlers. Not, I'm like the American version of, like, American fucking ninja over here and shit. You know what I mean? So I want to go there and see what they're doing, because there's a lot of things that I've heard over the years of why they get away with certain things. And here I'm doing it the hard way and risking my ass, going, oh, I could have fucking cheated this whole time. Fuck, I didn't know that. You know what I mean? Like, I remember one time my buddy from was the Swamp Brothers, my buddy Robbie Kesey. He's from that show Swamp Brothers from Discovery Channel. Him and I've known each other since I was like 15 years old. Like, I used to spend the night at his house. He was a snake handler. I was a snake handler. He had cobras and shit. I'd come over there and fuck with all this shit whenever I was a kid. But I was good. You know, I was always really good at what I did. I was a natural. So then I remember he shows me this video one time. I'm a kid. And he's like, look, man. He goes, because I was kissing cobras like on top of their fucking head like this, right?
Yeah.
He shows me this video of some fucking lady, black and white, old video. And she gets this big ass king cobra out. And she's fucking kissing it like nose to nose, like right on its fucking lip.
Ooh.
So he's fucking with me, and he's like, man, he goes, see, you're a pussy. If you weren't no bitch, you'd fucking do it like this. So then I sat there and I got bothered. Like, one day I'm like, I am a fucking pussy, man. What the fuck? So, and meanwhile, there's 90% of the planet is not even trying to even do what I do to begin with. But I'm over here telling myself I suck and I'm a pussy. I got to step up my game. So then I get a video of me kissing a fucking cobra, like lip to lip.
Jesus.
And I haven't seen Robbie in a couple of years, but then because he moved up north and we saw each other here and there, but we weren't like we weren't all the time hanging out. So then I bust out my laptop at this fucking reptile show. And I'm like, hey man, I got to show you something. I fucking opened my laptop and I showed it to him, and he's like, holy fucking shit. And he's like, bro.
Oh man.
He's like, what are you fucking doing? I'm like, I told you I could do it. He's like, man, I was just fucking with you. He's like, that lady that did that had the mouth sewed closed on that snake. So here I am not knowing this, and I feel like I got called out. So I went out there and just dropped hammers and shit, taking chances that nobody else is really taking, thinking that they are. And then that's kind of how that shit started. But I've also I learned so much more about king cobra behavior, trying to trial and error that whole situation. And I do give credit to Robbie for challenging that to me, because if he would have never challenged me, just being like that dick friend, I my game would have never gotten to the level that it's at. So
well, that challenging, I mean, and having to do all that trial and error,
I was young. Now when somebody challenges me, like, oh, hey, kiss the cobra, hey, go fuck yourself. Like, like, I don't care. I have nothing to prove to anybody. But back then, when I was in my 20s, I was like, fuck, I'm new to this, man. If I want to be the top fucking guy, I gotta make statements. So that's kind of where I was at. And then when every time I would get bid, I'd become like the target hit list for everybody talking shit about me on the internet. And I just absorbed all that negative energy and turned it into something fucking, like, I was like the controversial fucking Eminem guy of the fucking reptile world. Like, when people say I shouldn't do this, and this, the next videos were out of me doing this, and this. Like,
well, it is amazing that you've only been bit, what, 4 times?
4 times in my whole career. It is, considering I've never been bit doing a performance or a show or anything like that. I did have a close call once doing a National Geographic photo shoot, or film shoot. We were handling king cobras. I had 2 or 3 wild caught 12, 13 footers, big motherfuckers. And one of them I had out. And I've gotten so good with these things now where in the midst of handling, I could like pause and be like, all right, it's done. I got to take a break. The snake needs rest.
Yeah.
And something was going on. And I had said that, like, listen, that's it. That's a wrap. No more. I said, I can't do any more. The snake needs to, he's done.
Yeah.
And for some reason or another, and I don't know why, I'm going to say pride or ego, maybe. I'm not going to even try to sugarcoat it. It was something triggered me. But these fucking asshole producers convinced me to give them 5 more minutes. And I even said it out loud. My guy that was helping me wrangle, he already knew that I was kind of against the idea, but I was like, all right, 5 minutes. I'm not going to be doing anything.
Yeah.
Just some beauty shots and shit like that, right? Somehow or another, in the midst of that 5 minutes, there was opportunities where I saw the animal doing certain things where I'm like, oh, fuck it, I'm just going to engage him, which I shouldn't have done. And as soon as I went to engage the animal, the snake had spent so much time with me doing certain things where king cobras are smart as fuck.
Yeah.
So it had figured out my pattern. So when I went to engage it second guessed me and grabbed me by my fucking pant leg, like almost bit me. And it pumped so much fucking venom dripping down my leg from the inside of my pants. Like it would have killed me. Like it was bad.
Dude.
And it's all on film. We got the whole thing on film. It's crazy. As a matter of fact, I am going to be pumping out a YouTube channel. I didn't get to mention that yet.
No.
I do actively have one right now, but most of it is Native American powwow music, live shit that I filmed at powwows. Okay. I'm also a singer and stuff like that. So I go around to powwows and stuff like that with my family.
Yeah.
And so I put a lot of that stuff out there. There's not a lot of animal related content yet, but it's going to start coming. Like this year, we're going to start pressuring a little bit more into that because there's a lot of people doing it, a lot of people making money. And as long as I've put into this business, there's no reason I shouldn't get a piece of that too. And I believe a lot of people would want to see some of the stuff that we have to put out. A lot of it's going to be older shit, like narrated versions of snake bites. Like I have video footage of a rattlesnake bite that's never been seen before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not the actual bite, but it's like 10 minutes afterwards of me going paralyzed and things like that. Like
Jesus.
So some of those videos will get put together. I got old videos of me getting bit by alligators that I'll put a full narrative on and explain and try to educate a little bit about like the do's and don'ts of where I fucked up. I think that would be a little helpful.
For sure.
You know, some behind the scenes shit talk about stuff that goes on with Jackass, Wildboyz. Maybe some undercover shit from America's Got Talent. I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to talk about, but I'll keep it interesting, but pretty free, you know?
Yeah.
So that's been the idea. And then I'll also maybe we might start doing like a once a week podcast and just catching up on random life shit, not necessarily animal stuff. I also make my own line of hot sauces. I cook. I do a lot of things like that. So I kind of want to break into a little bit of everything and just get anybody and everybody interested in different parts of life, interested in seeing things. And I just feel like that's a good way to do it. Once I'm done remodeling and building everything out here, I'll have time in my hands again to sit around and play with a camera again. You know, like we'll do like snake feedings and alligator and crocodile feedings and you know, different things like that, just to kind of keep it interesting. We got I got several species of crocodiles and alligators and stuff out here, caimans. So we'll be doing educational videos on each species over time, and just a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You know what I mean? Like it's just if that's the era that we're in, and I'm not opposed to adaptation, and you know I still have the on camera presence that works. People like to do that. So.
Well, I mean, and that's the perfect thing about it is that like granted, like you were saying, there's all these people who are doing it and whatever, but they don't all have the familiarity that like we have with you, because like we grew up. Like,
well, that's just it. And I also want to. I'd like to introduce the world to not just me and who I am, but what made me. Like, I want to introduce other people in this field that are better at elephants, like the best of the best. Like, I'd like the influences that brought me to the level that I'm at. I'd like them to get their recognition and credibility for being where they're at and the time that they put into, not just give me the credit for learning it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
I just feel like that's the problem is there's not enough credibility given to the people ahead or behind everybody. And that it's like they get forgotten in the wind. And I just don't feel like that's fair.
Yeah.
So I'd rather not be that guy. I'd rather be the opposite and try to push people to that next level and help everybody get a piece of the pie. You know what I mean? Another thing that I'm going to do too is you see a lot of people going to other people's facilities and, you know, using other animals or using this person's place to do this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all to make themselves something. So what I also want to do is, what's going on, guys? Everything that basically comes my direction, whoever helps me on each thing, that I want to make sure they get their piece of the action too, just to keep everybody happy and wanting to keep that vessel moving. If you start leaving people behind, you're a ship with no crew, and then it goes nowhere, you know.
Yeah,
so,
dude, for sure.
Come here, you want to say
absolutely.
Hi? Come on, you can come up here. Come on.
You gonna be a bear?
No, it's just a dog. Come up here. Come on, guy. You want to say hi to everybody? You come up. You come up and say hi. Look over here. What are you? No, you're facing the wrong way.
No camera presence.
Yeah, he's like, he don't even know what's going on. He's like, I don't even know what the camera is.
Oh well.
All right.
But no, I did have I know we're running way over time. I don't want to keep you, super long.
Oh, no worries.
But was there ever an animal growing up or even now that you were afraid of?
All right, so yeah, one thing that I'm kind of fucking scared about, I guess I could say would be spiders. I had just a lot of episodes in life where spiders just didn't come out on the better end of things, I guess, for me, and kind of freaked me out. Like first time the phobia started, I was like 3 years old, sleeping, and excuse me.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, and fucking spider fucking crawled across my face and into my mouth and out of my mouth, and I woke up, flipped the light on, and it's this big ass fucking giant spider. So ever since then, spiders just freak me out. And then I try to take baby steps to get over that. And then I just always had these bad incidences where not wearing a shirt or something like that one fucking jumps on me. And then years after that, I got bit by a brown recluse a couple times. And really fucked me up. And that was probably one of the most painful things I've ever been through.
Really?
That is just creepy shit like that. And fuckers have too many legs, and I don't know. It's not, if it's like a black widow or something that you just know is deadly or something. For some reason that doesn't bother me. It's kind of like a fucking snake or something. But I don't know, spiders
Dude, I'm telling you,
like when you're riding through the woods or walking down a trail and the one's in your fucking face, fuck. Because you don't know, because you just don't know if it's gonna fucking bite you. Is it gonna jump off of you?
No, spiders are creepy as hell, dude. Okay, so mine, this is embarrassing as hell, but so my biggest fear of all time, not even just animals, just number one fear, grasshoppers.
Really?
Terrified. What
the fuck is with that?
Don't know. You know how elephants are afraid of rats or mice? That's a myth, I think. But
no, it's actually not a myth.
Really?
People think that is. So yeah, I'll elaborate on that real quick.
Okay.
So you got to look at an elephant like they're a herd animal, of course. So they're very social with each other out in the wild, and their lateral field of vision sees each other on that height.
Yeah.
So when it's like if you're looking straight and don't move your head, and you look down, and you try to look down at your feet or something, or your dick or something, everything looks distorted, right?
Right.
Well,
especially
with an elephant, same thing. So when it's looking down like that, just because of the way their depth perception and field of vision is, things that are smaller and beneath them, they take as a threat, so they want to trample it. So it's not that they're scared of it. It's they take that as something so one time I met a friend of mine. He was one of the head trainers for Ringling Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And they were finishing up their show or whatever in Miami. So I went down over there to see him. I was like, fuck, I'm going to go hang. I haven't been around my buddy in a while and elephants and stuff. So I was like, let me go hang out. And I got to meet a couple of young baby elephants and stuff like that. So then I spent the night there. The next morning, everything was getting packed up for them to get on the train and head to the next destination.
Right.
And a forklift come over and picked up a pallet that had hay on it. And I was actually, he was giving me the leftover hay actually too. So I had a trailer. So he picks up this pallet and lays on the trailer, and where the pallet was, there was a mouse or a rat. And this bitch went to bouncing, and went right in the middle of the 5 fucking elephants. And they freaked the fuck. They were fucking high stepping and fucking moving around. Like,
oh my god!
Not that they were scared of it, but whatever the fuck. It was the whole mouse and elephant situation live in my face, and they didn't want nothing to fucking do with that shit. They wanted to stomp its ass.
See, that might be my grasshopper thing.
It was explained to me more like that depth perception, field of vision. It makes it look more magnified and terrifying than they are, kind of thing. So
yeah, see, I'm sure it's just like a childhood thing. I don't know. I'm just
you know what? I'll tell you why grasshoppers. I'll say it could be something simple like this. When you pick up a grasshopper, excuse me, they do this weird fucking thing where they're trying to kick out of your hand or whatever, and they got these little fucking spiky things. God, so when they're fucking hitting you, you know if you're getting fucking envenomated or bit or fucking stabbed or and it's nothing. Like you look at it and you're like, oh, this thing's fucking hit. But psychologically, I mean, if you're a kid, especially when it started, that could be, holy fuck, that thing just ate me alive, and it's in your mind, you know? Yeah. So it could just be something like that scars you, and you're just, you know.
It has left me damaged. Like I one time, like whenever I was like a teenager, had to go to work, looked at my truck, and on the door handle, there was a big ass grasshopper, about that big, just called into work. I was like, I'm sick, can't come in. Like I was like, I want nothing to do with this, dude. Like I've told friends, like, because like I'm not afraid of snakes or like, I mean, really any other animals. So like whenever
grasshoppers,
dude, I was telling them, like, I was like, I would any day of the week rather be locked in a room with like 10 rattlesnakes than 10 grasshoppers, hands down.
Yeah, I'm like that with spiders. Like I just, you know. Somebody, a friend of mine, is like, oh man, yeah, why don't you come on in and hang out for a second like that? Check out my fucking new, whatever the fuck, my Goliath fucking bird eater, this or that. Nah, listen, motherfucker, don't use that language with me. I ain't coming anywhere near that fucking building. I'll burn your fucking house down, dude. Like
terrifying.
It's just something about some of that weird shit. But I mean, everybody's got their thing.
Yeah.
I knew somebody that was terrified of fucking frogs. Like they see a frog and they just lose it. Like
that's fair.
A phobia, not like, oh, it jumped on me, I'll freak out. Like visually seeing one and fucking like hysterically crying and just panic attack. Weird shit.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, everybody has their thing. Like, I mean, public speaking is like the number one fear, and I do it all the time. And
true,
it doesn't bother me.
And it doesn't bother me doing it either. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but if a grasshopper goes on stage, I'm probably gonna piss myself. Like I
think if I ever come see you on stage, I'm gonna bring a bag of fucking grasshoppers and just fucking throw the whole bag of them up there.
Well, you know what? After hearing this, you are not gonna be the only one with that thought. I probably shouldn't have said any of this.
Somebody out there catch a bag of fucking grasshoppers and toss them on stage with Cody.
I mean, it'll get more laughs than any of my bullshit jokes.
So
I'll take what I can get, dude. That's amazing. But yeah, I mean,
you just need to walk out on stage and be like, okay, I guess I'm here to make everybody laugh. You're welcome, and then just fucking walk away and see what they say. You know,
that's it.
That's what you got to. You know how it is. We talked about that before. Like making yourself the punchline. You can never get fucking broken, and people always laugh. So,
amen. Yeah,
man. Work.
Well, dude, hey, man. I mean, we ran short on time. Had a little like storm break, so that's why shit looks a little different right now. But
man. I'll tell you that fucking storm. I went out on my back porch, and it was like you could see it all. You go out on the front porch, and the rain was coming like fucking sideways.
Yeah.
It was like some weird tornado shit going on. The electric went out probably about 8 more times.
Yeah.
It was just crazy electrical storm.
Oh, yeah.
You know, their dog had to go piss, didn't want to go out in it. I'm like, look, dude, you got 2 choices, either hold that shit or, you know, you got to go out and get wet, you know. Dude, it was a pretty rough storm.
Yeah, man.
But
Well, dude,
that's Florida, man. It's like that. We get our weather is
yeah.
like bipolar as fuck over here, man.
Oh, I did, dude. I know. Every time I've been to Florida, it is like whatever the weather is. Like, if you don't like it, give it about 5 minutes,
It'll
and then
change. Yeah. You'll be in
yeah,
your favorite. Dude, for a while there, we were getting like 80, 90-degree daytime, fucking retarded heat. And then at night, it was getting in like 50s. Everyone's like, what the fuck is going on around? It was a
Jesus,
weird, this year has been weird as fuck with weather.
yeah, dude.
Really
Here
weird.
too, it's just been so goddamn hot. Like it is.
Yeah. The heat,
It's
too. Yeah, like I was saying earlier, man, the heat's just been like a little extra this year. And I don't know what's going on with it.
yeah. We're getting
'Cause I can
closer to
usually
the sun or
tolerate it.
something. Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, some people think the fucking earth is flat, though. So I don't know.
Well, show me that they're wrong. Dude, I love
Well,
that so much.
you know what it is? It's like this. It's a common sense thing on my perspective is, so I've looked through telescopes and shit my whole life.
Yeah.
Grew up around planetariums and stuff like that. So you look through a telescope and you see Saturn or Mercury or Mars or Venus or any of the planets, right?
Yeah.
And they're all fucking round. The moon is round. We're looking at it. There's
But
no
not
mistake.
ours.
But all of a sudden, out of all these series of round shit floating around a round sun, we're just randomly going to be fucking flat.
Exactly.
It's not. Like we're like the hermaphrodite of fucking the universe or something. Like the odd one. Like I don't
Well, that
buy
actually, when you put it that way, it kind of makes sense, to be honest. With how weird
True.
this shit is,
But I mean,
maybe it is.
It just doesn't make sense because,
No.
like if you went in one direction, I mean, I get the way they try to say curvature for flights, but if you got in one direction and went straight from California, and then you'd hit Europe, China, whatever like that, right? Over on that side, Asia. If you kept going, would you fall the fuck off?
Yes.
Like somebody needs to get in something and parallel, stay at the same altitude and just cruise and prove that you'll end up in the same spot after so much time.
Look, man, I have believed some very stupid things in my life. That ain't one of them. The Earth
ain't
being
one of them
flat.
either for me.
Look,
I think Bigfoot come fucking rape me before the Earth's flat. Be honest with you.
Oh yeah, like I'll end one thing. Like I'll tell you this. This is another embarrassing thing. Until I was a little older than I want to admit, I believed that if you were taking a piss and you sneezed and farted at the same time while you were taking a piss, that you would die. I believed that until I was in like my teens, and it happened to me once, and I had a damn near meltdown. So I was like, oh no.
Well, it's funny you bring it up like that, but if you're like taking a shit and you fucking cough or sneeze at the same time, you can throw your fucking back out. I've had that happen.
True. But we'll see. Dude, I thought I was going to die.
It ain't the end of the world, but it fucking feels like it for a little while.
Dude.
It happened to me not long ago, actually. To the point where I fell off the toilet. I'm like, I hope I don't have like shit ass, you know what I mean? Horrible.
Yeah, hey, man, life is full of ups and downs. I will say that.
Yeah, I tell you what, the older you get, the more downs you get too. It sucks.
Yeah. Hey, I'll be there soon, I'm sure. But yeah, man, dude, I appreciate this so much, man. I've been looking forward to talking to you, man. Like I've grown up seeing you on Wildboyz and Jackass and everything. And I was like, oh man, and I've always had such a
I was kind of hoping I would have done something with this new Jackass, but then after watching it, I'm like, well, there was a lot of cock in this one. And
yeah,
my forte. I'm not a professional cock handler, and it just didn't really make sense for me to be in there, I guess.
No, yeah, me either. Amateur at best, but yeah.
Yeah,
dude. I mean, I loved it. I loved the movie. I love all of them. But it's just like childhood nostalgia.
I guess it was just weird for me because I've been involved with every one of them except for this one, so it's kind of weird for me to like not be involved. I mean. And it's also weird, like not seeing Bam in there, and then Ryan being gone, of course.
Yeah.
Eric Roner. Last time I saw Eric alive was, one of the sets of Jackass. So just, lot of ups and down weird things like that. I mean, I'm still cool with everybody. I saw Steve-O and Preston not too long ago, and
Yeah.
everything was great. Like, yeah, had a great visit with all them guys, and talk to Jeff Tremaine once in a while. Happy birthdays, kind of shit here and there, whatever. Like, like where there's
Yeah.
no, I don't have any bad blood with anybody on that thing. I just, I know with COVID and everything, it was really hard for them to film things and to get people in and out of California and all that. So I understand the circumstances. I just kind of wish they would have put off the movie for a year so we could have had better involvement and some cool shit going on. But
yeah,
but it turned out well, and I think there'll be some future stuff.
For sure.
Especially with the new guys and stuff like that. And I mean, my job's always to come up with cool shit with animals to hurt people. So
yeah,
as long as I got people to hurt, I guess I still got a job, right?
dude, exactly. And like I mean, I've been wanting like Wildboyz to come back, like me and millions of other
everybody.
people.
I think a lot of people, even we have, like myself and Mark Rackley and a couple of the other guys that worked on it with us, Dimitri and things like that. We've all, Trip Taylor, I've talked to him about it too. It's like, we want to, I always, come on, man, let's do a Wildboyz movie at least, like one last hoorah, because there's just so much cool shit that have transpired since Wildboyz, and I think that we could go out in I don't know, I think we could probably we could definitely do it movie style. There's a way, and I mean, to be honest with you, I do have some stunts up my sleeve written down for a while for a Wildboyz themed type thing. I mean, I would have used them for a Jackass movie too, but they're essentially written for that Wildboyz flavor, and I'd love to transfer that to some type of media on film or something like that, whether it be a show or a movie or something like that, just because to translate those ideas in that form. Well, first, I think just be fun to produce. They're just some of them are super gnarly and some of them are just holy shit good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think they would fit more in the Wildboyz type click thing. And so I'm looking forward to what the future might hold for that. Maybe we include some of the new Jackass guys into that and let them get a feel for what Wildboyz is about out in the wildery shit. And,
dude, it was such a great show. Like, it was amazing, and seeing you there, like,
it was. I feel like I feel like in the fourth season we started kind of declining on the gnarliness, so we relied more on cultural stuff instead of animals, and it just became the culture stuff. A lot of people don't take. It's like almost like racism shit. Like they take offense to it more than think it's funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you start talking about different religions and the way people practice their culture, it's touchy.
Yeah.
I mean, props to Jeff and everybody that just said, "Fuck it, we're going to do it anyway," because that's the way it should be. I did see that negative feedback a little bit more from season 4 than I did the first 3 seasons when it was more animal oriented.
I could see
mean,
that.
we had cultural shit with every one of them.
Yeah.
But it was primarily animal related stuff, and but that 4th season was more. It's kind of the opposite, like too much culture and criticism, or I'm going to say criticism, but maybe offensive material towards some of that. Then I saw animal gnarliness. You know what I mean?
That makes sense. I mean, I can see that. Like,
definitely. It is. I think it was the format too, because if you remember, like season 1, like Florida episode, we did 2 Florida episodes, 2 Costa Rica, or 2 South Africa. It was like 2 of every country, because there was so much content filmed in each one. It was like, we need second episode. So first season got of Florida, second season got the other half of Florida, right?
Right.
But there was so much shit in each 30-minute episode, like 22 minutes of footage. And we put 10 skits in it where we could have lengthened the narrative, put less skits, and had more episodes and gone a 4th and 5th season. I feel like, because there was just so much gnarly shit that got filmed. The outtakes, some of the stuff even made it on some of the Jackass movies and outtakes because they were too gnarly for Wildboyz. So with that much content, we definitely could have twisted the narrative a little longer, I think. I mean, but I'm not the editor, I'm not the producer or director. Like they had their own method to their madness, and I'm not knocking it because it was obviously super successful. But from me sitting there with Seth in the editing room and just seeing some of the longer cut versions and what they were shortened down to for TV. I think those longer cut versions would have been just as entertaining and also had more longevity. But see, there's also the parts, the details that I don't know because I'm not involved on the executive part of it. Maybe MTV wasn't going to buy more than 4 seasons, so put everything you can in there. You know what I mean? There's what it could be. There's a lot of details I just don't know.
Well, there's all kinds of speculating.
I'm speculating as a spectator, not as a somebody with any type of inside information on that. So,
was there ever like a stunt or a skit where you were just like, this might be too much? Like, maybe y'all were underestimating.
There's been a couple things where I've had to tweak them. Like pull Jeff Tremaine aside. Jeff, come here. I know this is gnarly, but somebody's gonna get fucking killed. We got to do this a different way. Like, you know what I mean? Like some shit's just I can't remember really off the top of my head which ones that we tweaked down, but I do remember several times doing things, and I remember also doing things other times. And after it was done, me and Mark or somebody would be like, "Yeah, we probably shouldn't have fucking done that." Like we get away with it. Like, you know, don't get me wrong. Like we got away with a lot of gnarly shit. But there's been, I mean, no exaggeration, at least 10 different times Mark and I looked at each other and was like, that was a bad fucking idea. So I have gone out of my comfort zone. Like Jeff Tremaine has a way of getting what he wants and getting you to give him what he wants, even if it's against your better judgment. Like, but I can't hate him for that because I use those same things when it comes to like for instance, Steve-O with the alligator snapping turtle. We've been trying to get his ass bit by the alligator snapping turtle forever. So when it came to Jackass 3, we had that little alligator snapper, and I was like, Jeff, man, we need to do this. And he was like, you know what? How about this? You convince Steve-O to do it, and we'll fucking shoot it. Okay. So that was my mission, and I got it done. You know, Steve-O and I have been through it. We've been through a lot. We went on tour together, or he brought me on his tour, actually. He was like back when he was not sober. I guess I'll just put it that way. He was quite a handful. And Preston and Dave England and these other guys that were working with him were like, fuck this guy. And they left him like during the tour because he was just so fucking wasted and obnoxious. And they were like, man, we need either a Wildboyz or a Jackass cast member to make this shit through the rest of the season or whatever. So they give me a call, and then because Steve-O and I had just filmed some stuff for his Out on Bail video a couple months before that, and then we did, of course, Wildboyz and stuff together. So he already knew what I was about, and we did the King Cobra Kiss of Death on season 1 Wildboyz for Florida episode. And he was like, hey man, can you come and be part of the show or whatever, and gave me the dates and the cities and stuff. And he's like, and can you bring a fucking King Cobra? So it started in Florida for spring break, and I'm like, yeah, anywhere in Florida, we're no problem. I can do whatever we want. So we remember going to the House of Blues, and they have this big list of like shit we're not allowed to do, like no fucking, no dicks, no fucking what do you call it? No like no nudity, no fire, random stuff. There's half the fucking act right there.
I was gonna say.
So no ladders, like he wasn't allowed to backflip off of ladders in this one or something. Some crazy shit, like a lot of no knives, because he did a whole thing where he like balances a knife on his nose, standing up on a ladder, or some crazy fucking weird shit. Anyway, not allowed to do any of that. So then Steve was like, yeah, well, they didn't tell us we couldn't bring a fucking 13-foot King Cobra on stage, so here we fucking go. We didn't even tell them. We just showed up. And at the finale of the show was me bringing out this fucking basket that contains like a 13-foot King Cobra and just barging around the stage of House of Blues. They were like, what the fuck is that? Like,
dude.
And we did it everywhere. Like everywhere we went, we just didn't tell them that we're doing a fucking Kiss of Death at every show. We had scorpions, because we did the scorpion thing where I got them stung in the face with scorpions. And kind of like the scorpion Botox they did for the last one. But we've already been doing that. We've been doing that since 2003. That's old news. So we did that, and then the finale was always me and the fucking King Cobra. So it was like,
Yeah.
it was a good thing. It was, we had fun. And then there did get a point like in Canada where I started meeting that side of Steve-O where it was like, I just got to get the fuck away from this dude. He's fucking going crazy.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that was just him being on drugs and stuff like that. Like him being sober, it's people are always like, oh man, he's fucking boring, or he's like in the beginning when he first became sober, oh, he's not as gnarly. But you know what? They say that as a perspective of a fucking spectator.
Right.
But when you're his friends and you spent nights with him and days and months together all the time, traveling like with Wildboyz and everything, and like that's like like all our Wildboyz people, we're like brothers. It's like even if we don't talk or hang out all the time, like we look out for each other. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things. Like when we were on tour and I'm watching him beat himself up, I get frustrated because of what comes personally at me, but at the same time, I was trying to watch out for him. So I was like a babysitter for a lot of that shit too. Which becomes really, really difficult when you don't want to see somebody you care about going through that type of shit. So I don't do any of that fucking crazy cocaine or fucking PCP or fucking any of that. None of that shit that all the experiments he did. I don't even drink. You know what I mean? Once in a while, but nothing. On tour, I did. When the shows were over, I was drinking a little bit back then. But nowadays, I just I don't fuck with nothing. And when I saw him recently, and I've seen him for years clean, of course, but this is the most recent. It's just, man, he's back to being that person that I had a connection with, but in a better light because he's doing it because he wants to, not because he's just in that mode. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like he knows how to turn on and off that mode without using alcohol or drugs to do it. And that is when I felt like he finally perfected himself. Like he realized he didn't need that to be that guy.
Yeah.
He just has to learn how to turn it on and off when it's necessary and be Steve-O's a really, as much as a douche as he can be when he was fucked up on stuff and he'd be like a dick to people and fucking say shit. It's just he was kind of mean, a lot. He's got a really big heart. Like he always wants to, I just always kind of felt that from him. He's like from day one, he's always kind of looked out for me, and he's always tried to like help propel and promote things for me and stuff like that. He's never really we've had our bit differences, just like everybody, like disagreements on the way we see things. And back then I didn't keep my mouth shut. If I hear something, I call people and start running my mouth and threatening people and fucking, so I wasn't always the most tactful person in life. So, but at the end of the day, like I said, deep down, I can't really sit here and say anything bad about any of the experiences I had with Jackass or Wildboyz. It was all a good experience that makes me who I am today. Yeah. As part of that, learning curve in life, basically. You learn the do's and don'ts of the business. I decided to step into this business, and you gain a lot of things that you don't really see yourself gaining until after the fact. And just a lot of things are hard to, things get clouded pretty easy, especially in that Hollywood type of lifestyle. It gets a little after America's Got Talent, I just got to the point where it's like I'm just gonna be chilling right here, stay to myself, lay low. But then laying low, man, you're not out there making money. And if I'm an entertainer, I gotta kind of be out there making money. So I don't know. I'm in that transition now, where that crossroad where I got to make a choice of either pulling the trigger and getting back on it, or figure something else out. And I don't want to figure anything else out. So
nah, dude, I say pull the
get
trigger.
Back on it. I mean, I say pull the trigger.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not that old. I mean, I'll be 45 on Monday, so I'm not that old. I still got a couple more lives left and a couple more years left. So I might as well beat up the rest of me that still works.
Hell yeah, dude. I mean, anything you're doing, like, I'm a fan of. So, man, it's been
it.
No, dude, it's been a privilege.
I'll stay in touch with you about it when I get things kicking off. Then, like the YouTube thing going and everything, and I get all that settled in. Then we'll do another quick little recap, and I'll promote some things that I got on the table when it gets going. But
no, that'd be awesome, man. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, man.
Cool. So
for now, I mean, the only thing I guess I can really promote is like maybe just keep an eye out on my Instagram for updates and things like that, because I'm not regular on it yet, because I suck at that shit, but I'm trying. There is some cool shit that I put on there. When I do put stuff on there, it's usually pretty cool.
Oh, I've seen
So
it. Yeah.
yeah, so that's
Yeah.
official David Weathers is my Instagram, and then yeah, updates will be coming soon on some other stuff. We got a lot of interesting things happening out here at the ranch. Once I get the rebuild done for everything, part of that rebuild is we're building a private island out back, and eventually, on a very small scale, I'll be letting
Mhm.
people come do exclusive VIP tours and kind
Okay.
of live a day in the life of what it's like to be an animal guy out here in the gnarly wilderness and shit like that. So,
Well, sign me up, man. I
all
would
right,
love to
man.
come out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah.
going to be quite an experience. It's just the atmosphere we're trying to create alone is going to be that a place that people just want to escape
Yeah.
to. It's going to be like sanctuary, So,
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
uh,
Dude,
creating it
well,
for myself, and if somebody can earn that privilege in the world, then I'll be glad to share a little bit for people that are worthy, I guess, right?
hell yeah, dude. That's awesome, man. Well, hey, again, I appreciate it so much.
Hey, no problem, man. I appreciate you having me on. And like I said, we'll do an update as soon as I got some more stuff cooking and figuring out what's
So,
happening.
dude, sounds good to me, man. Just keep me up to date and yeah, man, good luck with everything.
Appreciate it, man.